Good evening, everybody. This is Mike with the Anything Goes Project, and welcome back tonight. Once again, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And for those of you who are listening to us on the podcast, don't forget we do have a YouTube channel as well. Look it up, Anything Goes Project, Mike Simons, and just have a ball with it, guys. Tonight, my guest is Terrence Patterson. He graduated from Oglethorpe University in Atlanta with a BA in economics. He later moved to New York City to pursue acting. He worked in a few international law firms during the day, honing his budgeting skills and hiring a team and advising and demanding law patterns about rediscovery and technology, while also working at an independent film production company for 10 years. Terence also co-produced an off-Broadway play, The Newlyweds, at the Producers Club, and eventually for a few years at the American Theater of Actors. He later founded his own independent company, Paragon Multimedia, as a way to create content, streaming or theatrical releases. And he is here tonight to discuss this web series that he's got, which I have already watched some of it, and this is really interesting, guys. Another creator here tonight. Half Past Jump Time, and his company, Paragon Multimedia, and his journey that it took him to become an entrepreneur. Terrence, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have another creator on here.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you having me. Those accolades, it's kind of funny to hear those come back as far as what I've done. But yeah, thank you for having me and giving everybody some background on me. So I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure having you here because, like I've said for probably the past 10 shows, we're gearing up to reach out towards creators, especially right now in this time where everybody's at home, they're isolated, they're bored.
Right.
And I know people have those creative juices in them, that flow, they can get it going. And what better way to do it than in an online platform, whether it's through Facebook, they're doing little live videos, podcasts, YouTube, or in your case, you're producing a whole web series.
Yeah.
So,
I have a great team behind me. It's been a journey. Like, I mean, not to use a cliche, but just to get it from inception to production, it took a minor miracle, just getting everyone together. So anytime you see anyone do anything on YouTube, be it a podcast, just remember that it takes a lot for all of that to gel together to produce something for you to see on YouTube or any other platform. So.
Absolutely. Just to give you guys, your listening audience out there, a time frame. A 1 hour video. If I do a 1 hour video, and I'm talking about this is already done. He and I are sitting here and it's recording on Zoom, but all the editing that I have to go back and do, putting in that nice background, all the little buttons that come up saying, hey, subscribe, do this and that, and giving you the context, everything that's going on the screen. I can spend up to 4 to 5 hours just on one video.
Exactly. And yeah, the same with me. I'm so bad at social media. I'm just going to put that out there as far as, I don't have a social media manager per se. I get someone to do it per project, but it's a lot just for me to come up with something original to say as opposed to all the other things that I've said on 1,000 tweets and Facebook messages. So that alone is a job itself. So I say, well, anyone who's doing this, if you can, hire someone to do the social media for you if you can, because it's a job within itself. Just being able to get that exposure that you need and keeping people informed and your audience informed.
It is. And so, well, Terrence, let's jump back in time.
Sure.
You started your own company, Paragon Multimedia.
Correct.
So let's walk through the journey of you getting to that point, because I know a lot of my listeners, they like to hear that beginning journey, how we get to point A, and then what's the finished product?
Yeah. Okay. Like a lot of people, I guess, who end up in entertainment creation, so to speak, it's sometimes not the direct path that you had initially. For me, initially, a part of what I did when I moved to New York was to be an actor, but also my fallback plan at that time was to go to law school. Like that was my backup plan. If this didn't work out, or if I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my dreams. So the journey actually started when I moved here. Having moved from Atlanta, I graduated from Oglethorpe, as you said. I worked at a bank for a couple of years. Then I moved to New York. I started to do some contract work just so that I could keep my company going at night. meeting a bunch of people. I met a great person who was a mentor of mine, Beverly Orozco Simmons. She was an NYU filmmaker, graduate actually, and then she became a filmmaker. And she actually kind of planted to see that this is actually something that I could actually do, and make, enjoy it and actually make a living for something that you love to do. So for many years, I worked for her. She mentored me. She started out having me read scripts. I read a lot of scripts. When I tell you, I read probably thousands of scripts, well, probably not literally thousands, but hundreds. And that's where I kind of honed in that maybe I could do some writing, because I read so many scripts that were, I guess what you would say, not bad, but they just I didn't think we could produce them in the way, the shape, and that they were in at that time. So having read so many, I started to find out and realized what I did want to see. And then I kind of gave myself confidence that I could probably write something. So fast forward, we started producing some plays that Beverly had written. Because I started out just being a producer, behind the scenes, mostly from a financial standpoint, and then segueing into creative, like starting to do development. She had a few original screenplays that she wrote. And unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago, but she was right at the cusp of getting one of her independent films, one of the first ones that we were started to pitch years ago, completed. But after her mentorship, I did a play and pitched movies for her independent film company. I worked at a law firm during the day as an e-discovery project manager, as you said, and that's basically just dealing with data and emails before litigations and that kind of stuff. Really boring, but interesting at the time for me. It kind of paid the bills, so to speak. Paid the bills as far as living in New York, and then paid the bills as far as being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's what I like about what you said in the first part of your story, was you had a backup plan. And
yes.
I want a lot of people that are on the cusp right now. You're sitting on the fence of deciding whether or not you want to be a creator. Right. You can go ahead and start being a creator now. As you saw, Terrence had a backup plan. He had a day job. A lot of people that I know that are in that do YouTube, many of them aren't full-time at it, and they probably won't be full-time for years to come. But
right.
They do it because it's a passion. It's something that they love to do, but they have something to fall back on while they work on this. So if that's what's holding you back as a creator,
right,
stop. You can do this.
Yeah, there's literally nothing that can stop you right now. The invention of YouTube definitely is a platform that anyone can upload their material to. So there's really nothing blocking you from having an idea. And what you don't know, YouTube can teach you. I mean, it's as far as writing. Yeah, exactly. Writing dialogue, how to hire your crew, what to look for in your crew, how to structure your screenplays from Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, how to create a great web series, how to get financing for it, equity crowd. It has so many, there's no limitation. There's really no barriers. If you want to create something, you can create it right now. There's really, I mean, outside of what's going on now, you can't really do anything. But other than that.
And I would suggest that anybody going onto YouTube, please don't look at the how to cut your own hair videos.
Right.
I've seen really bad dudes coming out of this.
Exactly. And those DIY, some of those home videos, you're like, I really think you should get a licensed contractor for that. Like, you really shouldn't do electrical, that's just not something you should do. But,
Or what's that? Well, I know you've seen this guy. He shocks himself every time he's doing something.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy is like, don't be him.
Yeah, don't be him. Yeah, you don't want to be a meme or something like that, for something you learned on YouTube. But yeah, so back to me starting my journey of being an entrepreneur. So for years, I worked with Beverly, doing the Off-Broadway play, doing the movies. And then I just thought at some point that I wanted to venture out and do my own thing. So a few years ago, I opened up Paragon Multimedia. I immediately started to develop a couple of web series, this being one of the first ones. And the whole incorporation of my company, that's what really made it, to talk really a pinpoint about the journey. It solidifying it was me, creating my LLC. Like, it really made it like, okay, now you're responsible for this company, this brand, or whatever the content, whatever you're going to produce. It doesn't have to be a web series, doesn't have to be a podcast. It could be any product. You can have an online store on Amazon. You just got to make sure that you're the best at what you're doing. So a lot of that is the learning curve. Being an entrepreneur, there's a steep learning curve. Like, it's in every facet of it, from accounting to marketing to just being a people person. Because if you're not an entrepreneur, you don't like being around people or working with people, it's going to be very hard. You're not gonna be successful because everything that you do takes other people to help you build your dream. Even if it's a podcast that you do by yourself, maybe in your own home, someone has to edit it. If you're not editing, then you're gonna have a team to do it. Someone's gonna help you with lighting or even the script itself. There's a team that you need, and I think that's another thing that I learned along this journey of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Building a strong team. There's nothing more poignant that I could tell anybody, but just building a team that you can trust the people around you to delegate. And that's actually something I actually had a hard time with, was delegating. Being an entrepreneur, you just want to do everything. And as I'm sure with your show, you want to do everything.
This is my baby.
Exactly. And like anything, like that, the analogy you just said about it being your baby. With parents and their kids, like you foster them for 18 years and then you just kind of have to let them go, and you have to trust that they're going to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So for me, it was giving responsibility to other people. Like I wanted to do everything, write, be creative director, do post production, because that's what I'm used to being at the independent level. But once I started amassing a team of people, I had to trust and delegate, and that has served me well so far.
Yeah. Well, let's step back to where you said you started Paragon Multimedia.
Yeah.
Doesn't it change the whole dynamic of it, of what's going on the minute that last paperwork is signed and Paragon Multimedia, or in my case, M&C Designs, is now a business. It's a corporation. It changes the whole dynamic about it. I mean, it's like everything else that you had on the back burner. It's like, whoa, this is for real.
Right. And to add to that, everything is on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. Everything about the company, everything starts with you. If you're not ready to accept that responsibility, I think you probably should wait until you really open up a company. Just because there's a lot of responsibility. If you really want it to be successful, you're going to have to be a part of everything. Until you get a team, your hands are going to be in every pot, and you're going to be wearing many hats, sometimes multiple hats at the same time.
Yep. And that's also a great opportunity for a person to grow as a leader, because like you said, you've got your team.
Correct.
Leaders lead rather than being the boss man.
Correct. That's something else that's actually a good point that you said, Mike. I don't like to see myself as the boss, because I know that people know that I own the company and that I created the show and all of that. They don't need to be reminded of that. They need to be reminded that if something goes wrong, I'm the person to come to, and I'm going to make it work no matter what. I'm going to have a backup plan, or I'm going to have an answer, or we're going to work together to get an answer. And we're going to continue to move forward. If we can't do it, then we'll circle back to it. But I think a really important thing about that, hiring a team, is listening to the people that work with you. I can't tell you how important it is for me to listen to what they have to say, and not be so quick to, especially when I first started out being an entrepreneur, was probably saying no a lot, because I'm like, I have my own idea how I did this, because I've done this before, instead of being collaborative, because especially with content creation, you got to be collaborative. I mean, it's just the whole nature of the game.
Absolutely. And I see a lot of podcasters that have shot themselves in the foot over that. I'm more than willing to collaborate with anybody. And I've actually, in doing my show over the past couple of years, I've collaborated with several podcasts, and we've always produced a quality product, something that their listeners and my listeners enjoy doing. And every now and then I run across a podcaster. It's like, I'll approach them and say, hey, look, I'd love to do a collaboration with you.
Yeah.
This is my show. Okay.
Yeah.
Move on to the next one. It's like,
exactly.
You don't know
I don't know. I'm more about spread the love. I'm a spread the love kind of person. Yeah. So if we both can do well and collaborate, why don't we just do that? Because it's hard being on YouTube, with a lot of content creation. I'm on other platforms, but YouTube has been very active for us. And I have reached out to, like you said, a couple of people myself, and a lot of times I've been getting some pushback, but some people have been very, welcoming to me. So there's a lot of positive out there. I will say one platform that I've had a little trouble with was LinkedIn, actually, because I had, it's not, I don't want to crash it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I broke the LinkedIn algorithm.
You did?
It out. I had a LinkedIn account for almost 7 years.
Okay.
I had like 50 people.
Yeah.
Over the past 3 weeks, I've jumped to almost 350 connections.
Oh, wow.
We'll have to talk about that after I get off here.
Yeah. But yeah, I reached out to a few people. One, I reached out to a couple of writers because I want to expand my writing room. And I got radio silence. And I'm like, I thought LinkedIn was this place where we're going to network with each other. And I'm kind of, they need to do something. That's where they could probably capitalize on some things.
Oh, they'll connect with you, and that LinkedIn will start assisting you in making those connections once the paid account.
Correct. Yeah. The premium. Yeah. So I'm trying to expand my team on some other areas where I don't have people. So I'm gonna try to use that platform, LinkedIn, again, to see if I can get some people. But
Well, even reach out to other YouTube creators, because there's a lot of creators out there.
Yeah, I'm going to do more of that. Mike, that's actually a good idea. I'm going to put that on my to-do list. I am going to reach out to more of them because they've been doing it longer than I have, and they know the pitfalls of some of, a lot of, I think what I really kind of stumbled with, to be completely and transparent, honestly, with you, is some of the marketing part of it. Either you pay for a Facebook ad and you see it get a lot of engagement, but you don't get conversion of people, viewing your video, even though the link is there. So there is this thing about social media marketing that I have not yet cracked. And I
may have somebody for you to talk to. He was a
okay.
guest just the other day on the show.
Okay.
He is an SEO specialist.
And that's what I need.
Yep. And
Exactly.
I will get you his contact information before we.
I see. Hey, here we go. The platform is useful, man.
This is what we're doing. Right.
Exactly.
Well, let's jump into. Okay, this web series. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm gonna go. I've got it right here already.
Okay.
I love the way you reach out and you grab somebody. It says the story of Half Past Jump Time follows the lives of a pair of Harlem Renaissance era aspiring dancers, a 1920s time traveler, business owner, and a trio of 2018 contemporary New York City dancers and performers. And I like how you said this. We now have your attention. Jump into this. Let's talk about this, because I watched episode 1 today.
Okay.
Loved it. I loved the I love the color grain that was in it, because you had it look like that, like an older film. Well, I don't know what LUT package you were using, but it worked.
Yeah, a lot of people point that out, and you know what? I was on the cusp of not doing it. I said, you know what? Why don't we have some continuity and keep both 1920s and contemporary New York the same color grade? And they were like, no, let's have this little pin, little patina on it.
That little extra gave
and
the
it works.
credibility to it that this is happening in the 1920s.
And that's the reason I'm glad you picked up on it, Mike. That's the reason. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty obvious, but that's why I put it in there. So I wanted to differentiate. When someone's watching it, they'll know what time period they're in.
Yeah. That was really interesting to me. And I was like, okay. I like this. The videography was great. The sound sounded good. I loved it so far. I'm going to have to watch the rest of them now. So I'm going to let you take the wheel from here and talk about it.
Okay. So I'll talk about the story, and then I'll talk about the origin of the story. So Half Past Jump Time, like you said, based on some stories from my grandmother that she told me when I was a kid. When she visited Harlem in the 1920s, she was from the Midwest, and before she moved to Florida, where I'm from, she had moved to Harlem for like 9 months to a year, and she lived in a rooming house. So she would tell me stories about her time there, because as a kid, I didn't live in the same city she lived in. So when I visited her, we would stay up late nights, and I would just pepper her with questions because, it's my grandmother. I don't get to see her that often. So I would just ask her a lot of questions, and she stumbled across these stories, and I just kept asking her, so what was your life like when you were in your 20s? So fast forward, when I moved to New York, like you said, I worked with Beverly and I worked for the company. And then this series, when I opened my company, something hit me about those stories. So I started thinking about those stories, and the use of the time travel was me trying to connect hip hop dance, which is part of contemporary New York, or contemporary culture as it is, and then the Harlem Renaissance, only because it's such a vibrant period of time. We get there are some productions on it, but I really wanted to delve into the regular people of New York, and they would vis-a-vis be emblematic of people in America at that time and how they lived, and juxtapose that to how we live now really how my grandmother lived in her 20s and how I lived in my 20s and 30s here in New York, and see if things have changed from a societal standpoint, financial, how we move, social norms, those kind of things. So that was kind of how I came about getting the show together. And then the sci-fi part of it comes from a lot of different things. Anime has a big part of it. I don't know if you watch a lot of anime, but anime, because the time travel uses a ring to open up a portal for the time portal. It's kind of emblematic of anime. Sometimes they have inanimate objects that can do powerful things like swords and stuff. If you watch like Bleach or any of those, Naruto, Boruto, any of those. So I kind of wanted to use that, and also kind of not stole an idea, but kind of looked at Stargate with
one of my favorite series.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, one of my favorites. It's so very well written, acted. The cinematography was great. Everything was great about that particular series. How they had the Nubian, the kind of Egyptian kind of background to the technology. So that's kind of how this story evolves too, because a part of it is the ring actually comes from a Nubian pharaoh who is a descendant. Well, the time traveler is a descendant of him, and this ring is a part of what she used to open up the portal. So she has a speakeasy. Like I like to say in a lot of my interviews is that time travel really doesn't pay. You don't see Doctor Who anyway. So to make it more relevant for people, she had to have a day job, in my opinion, because you see these sci-fi stories and sometimes they don't have regular jobs. Like that's what they do. So I wanted to have a business and had to add more complexity to it. Her being in the 1920s, being an African-American woman, trying to open up a speakeasy against the cotton clubs of the time. So she actually uses the time portal with the ring to come to 2018, now it's 2020, to visit a niece, a descendant of hers. She's a dancer performer. She does hip hop dance with her trio of two friends of their trio, and she wants to bring that element back to Harlem Renaissance speakeasy time, so she can capitalize on it because she sees what it's doing here in in contemporary New York. So you could imagine what it could do in 1920s. So I wanted to tie that together with the jazz of the time as well. So that whole Harlem Renaissance, Great Gatsby kind of feel, I wanted that to be a part of the show as well. So she has a sidekick whose name is Charlie. I wanted to emphasize women and science and being a scientist. And I'm sure she's African American, but I'm sure that any race or nationality that she would be, at that time, it would be hard to be a woman scientist and wanting to work for the top companies of the time. I'm just sure that everyone had stumbling blocks. If they, wanted to do math or science, it just wasn't something that women went into. There wasn't a lot of roles for them. So I want to kind of focus on that a little bit too. So she works with the time traveler to kind of help us understand the science of it, and she gets new tricks. It's kind of like she's the James Bond and the guy that kind of does the tricks. Yeah. So she's kind of that person to her. So we kind of live, the story kind of goes through her and their journey and how they keep coming back and forth to contemporary New York, and how we can juxtapose the socialism of the time between those two time periods. So that's really what the show is about.
Wow. That is interesting. And every one of my listeners, because I've got a lot of geeks and nerds that follow me. And I mean that in a loving way, because we are all sci-fi fans and stuff like that. I've interacted with. I think we touched on everything except for Star Wars.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's the epitome of it. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, sometimes you have to. Sometimes I don't want to talk Star Wars because people are like, "Oh, you Star Trek versus Star Wars," and I like both. So it's kind of sometimes hard to get into that conversation.
Everybody always asks me that too, and it's like, look, you just get, if you don't love them both, you can get out.
Yeah, they're different things, and I don't like why people compare the two. The two totally different things to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're totally.
There's nothing. Matter of fact, I've just recently started rewatching the old Rod Serling Twilight.
Okay. Yeah.
They've got them on Netflix, and I was like, oh, looky here.
Right. Exactly.
So that is a very interesting story.
Yeah. I'm just.
Sounds like you could write a book with that.
Yeah, that was actually a thought at one point, was to maybe do maybe one book about the origin of the ring. And there's another sci-fi element. There is a council that's mentioned in episode 1, and the council are these three benevolent beings who are really the, how would I say, they are time personified. They are time itself. So the time travelers have to report to them. They kind of give them some cases to solve. Like, I won't give too much away, but there's a good sci-fi element that I don't want to give away that I want to be able to explore in some other episodes. But again, talking about the sci-fi, since audiences are so educated on what they want to see in sci-fi, like you can't bring anything too cheesy or too on the nose. They kind of figure it out. They don't like it. So that is a challenge, being independent and trying to make sure that the sci-fi part of it is, I think I did a great job with episodes 1 and 2, but going forward, I want to do some more in depth. So that's something that I really want to put some more emphasis on, is the sci-fi part. But I do want it to be character driven as well.
Yeah.
As much as I can.
Yeah. The characters are what going to make the story.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've emphasized a lot in my writings. The characters, I could have had my story take place 50 years from now and wrote the same story, and the characters are what are going to bring the audience in. That's who people relate with.
Correct, and that's who they connect with week after week, episode after episode. It's not me, the creator, that they're coming back for. It's those characters that they're investing time in, and they want to empathize with them, and they want some escapism for an hour and a half, whatever it is, 20 minutes, hour and a half, whatever you're doing content-wise. They just want it to be enjoyable, an enjoyable time, and I kind of want to ensure that. So I'm kind of particular about how I produce things. I don't need them to be perfect productions, because I don't think there's such a thing as that. But I want to make sure that every detail is kind of taken care of.
Yeah. And it's a web series. I mean, it's not something that's coming out of Hollywood. You're getting to see something that is coming straight from the creative individual themselves. I love the fact that you're doing it as a web series, because there's a lot of web series out there that I've stumbled across. Do you remember, I don't know, how old are you? I'm in my 40s. Back whenever I was a kid, there was a show called The Misfits of Science.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
It came on usually around, it was out about the same time as A-Team and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, but all these different people had different gifts and talents. You had the one guy in the show could shrink himself.
Okay.
And the other guy,
I remember this show.
Electrical powers and stuff like that. Well, somebody picked up on that years later. I think it was about 10 years ago. And they started a web series called The Misfits.
Oh, wow.
And it's basically, it's The Misfits of Science, the old TV show that only ran one season.
Right.
As a web series now. And it turned out really good. And I've stumbled across other web series here recently. And I love it because you're not having to, I am all for indie creators. I'm an indie author. I've published all my books. I've published myself. They've done very well. I refuse to go through the big clearinghouses when they started telling me, no, that's not what our audiences want to look at. And I'm like, I am your audience, and this is what I'm interested in.
Correct.
Yeah. And so I always encourage people, if you can do it indie, do it.
Yeah. I mean, if you graduate to something more commercial, quote unquote, if someone picks up your story, picks up and buys your product or whatever it is, and you get a studio to buy it, that's fine. But at the independent level, I can control the narrative, literally, because I'm doing a narrative content. I can literally control how I present the story, the characters. I don't have to have a committee of people telling me that's not the right subject matter, that I don't want you to discuss that. I think the characters should say this. If that happens, great. I'm collaborative. I can do that. But I love being at this level now, because I can create whatever's in my head. It can be created. Sometimes budget.
And you also have another advantage where most people don't, that are in like Hollywood.
Right.
You have fans. You have people that interact with you on YouTube and stuff like that, and you can get feedback from them directly. And build a community and a relationship with your viewership and your fans, and get the feedback and say, or you could be like, I'm stuck here as far as what you would want to see. Help me out. Give me some input.
Right. And audience going by. Yeah. And and audiences always have ideas. That's one thing I've noticed. They always have ideas about your series or whatever, and they're free to give them. They will definitely
Oh
tell you.
yeah.
So yeah, you know what? And that's another thing that I think I probably need to do a better job of is the engagement. I do it enough, and I think I do a pretty good job. But I think there's more that I can do because there's 1,000 other things, a million other things that can divert their attention. There's so many web series. There's Netflix. There's Disney Plus. There's BET Plus. There's everything. So we have to be creative, literally, in the strongest sense of the word, be creative and get people's attention.
Yep.
So
We got to grab
got
them.
a lot of competition.
We got to grab them within that first 15 seconds.
Correct. Yeah, literally within those first 15 seconds. Because if you don't, if you have a great concept, people will come back. But if you have a concept, but you don't have the right execution, they're not going to come back because there's so many other things competing for their eyeballs, so to speak. So, yeah.
Yeah. And welcome to the world of online streaming now. That's where we're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of competition, but you just got to keep getting better, and you have to keep putting out content.
Yeah.
That's something else.
I think for like you indie producers and web series and stuff, this is a good time for you guys because I think a lot of these big production studios,
yeah,
I mean, they're not able to do anything right now. They're pretty much shut down. Theater, there are theaters that aren't going to be opening back up after this.
Correct. Yeah. This fallout is going to affect everything. Yeah.
There's going to be production studios that are going to have to start releasing straight to streaming.
Right. I mean, even if they do open up, like you said, audiences may not be, they may be reluctant to go back so soon. Like they may, most people, since this whole wearing of the mask and everything, people may not want to sit for an hour and a half in a dark theater with a mask on their face watching a movie. I mean, I'm sure they will, but I don't know if people are going to be rushing out to watch. I don't know. They may, because people may have cabins.
I'm not touching anybody or hugging anybody for the next couple of weeks.
That's what I mean. The whole social contact. Exactly. That's the whole, because at a theater, you have to sit next to strangers that you don't know where they.
And they're coughing.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting when things open up. But I'm trying to get ready so when things do happen, that we can go right into productions of some other episodes, start rehearsals. I can even do rehearsals on Zoom with my actors. It won't be physical, but at least we can go over the lines and I can see if they sound natural, etc. There's things that you can do and still be productive right now.
So right now, you guys aren't filming anything?
No, we were. The irony is, I mean, I don't know if it's ironic. It's just something that happened, but we were just about to go into. We finished the crowdfunding, and then I was going to start rehearsals with episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6. We were just going to start producing. We had already been in pre-production. We want to start rehearsals for the dance part of it. And then, the current crisis happened, so we've had to put everything on hold.
Yeah, New York City has shut down.
Yeah, we're shut down. And it's unfortunate. Hopefully everyone stays safe. And everyone who's helping out, healthcare people, people who still have to go to work, that they're safe. But we had to shut down production, literally. So we were at a standstill. We don't know when we're going to be able to, of course, go back. No one does. But we're hopeful. We're ready. So, and people will be hungry. People will be hungry for content.
Well, this is the time to start pushing the online marketing part of it and getting.
Exactly. And I have been. You're so right.
Yep, getting that website out in front of your viewership and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah. There's a benefit to this. It's given you some downtime to start working on some other aspects of it that you might have, like you said, been neglecting.
Correct. And yeah. For me, it's the social media part of it, and even writing some other episodes. I have other series that I'm doing. So now it's giving me some time to develop some things and make some concrete steps. So once I get Half Past Jump Time into a good place, I can start another series and probably do 2 at the same time.
Yeah. Have you thought about for just some filler content? Have you thought about doing just setting up your cameras and doing in front of a camera with you talking about what it means to be behind the scenes, how to produce and stuff like that? I mean, that would be content too.
Oh, that's actually a good, There you go, Mike. I mean, that's a good idea. No, I'm actually going to, and you know what the funny thing about it is, Mike, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am really a shy person. And for me to even do a interview like this or even be on camera, it takes a lot. But I can speak to a crowd of people and not have a problem with it. I don't know what that is. I'm here in my own home and it should be okay. And it's not okay. Sometimes I have a little nerves, but if I can speak in front of a live group of people and not have a problem with it. I don't know what that is, but like you said, I should probably do that. People do want to know what goes on behind the scenes when it
Oh
comes
yeah,
to
absolutely.
creating a web series like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I guarantee you there's a creative sitting out there right now, hunting through Google and YouTube going, how do I do this?
You're right. And I've learned so much. I've learned so much from working with cast, trying to get PR marketing, which is to me one of the best things you can do. You can have the best content, as you know, best content in the world, but if you don't have anyone looking at it, if you're trying to capitalize on it, but if you're doing it for a hobby, that's different. If you're doing it just to do it, that's great. Your heart is in it and you love it, that's great. But I run a company, so now I'm trying to monetize it. So I have to be creative and smart about how I do my production. So you saying that about the behind the scenes, I definitely am going to do that. I'm going to give you a shout out. I'm going to give you a shout out when I do it.
And you know what? You could even have some of your team members come on do it on Zoom.
Exactly. I could have my director come on. This, great story behind that, how she came on board. I have a great choreographer who's also associate producer on the show. He can talk about the dance part of it. So, Mike, you just gave me a good idea. Thank you. I appreciate it.
There we go. See, that's what this is all about. This is why we do this creator series.
Exactly.
Terrence, man, this has been a blast tonight. I want you to take this time right now, reach out to my listening audience and my viewers.
Okay.
Let them know how they can get a hold of you, find your content, and just hear it from you. It's all going to be in the description.
Okay.
So
you can reach me at halfpastjumptime@gmail.com if you have a question about the show, advertising, anything like that. If any actors who want to be in it, any writers who are out there, that'd be great. You can watch us on Facebook at Half Past Jump Time. We're on Vimeo as well. We're also on Amazon Prime at Half Past Jump Time. Okay. Social media, Instagram is HPJT _ the web series. And I believe on Facebook it's at HalfWeb, WEB. So, and our website, www.halfpastjumptime.com. You can find a lot of information there. A lot of the press that we've gotten for the show recently has been phenomenal. So yeah, they can go to all those places. Our social media is listed there as well. So it's a great show. I just want people to invest some time in it. It's a great concept. Everyone loves the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s. Hip hop, dance, jazz is something that's really exploding right now, and just the time travel. I just think it's a great episode, and people would really enjoy it. And yeah, we love your support as well.
And also to any of my listening audience that's out there, if you just want to support them and possibly say, hey, look, I know how to do marketing, I would be more than happy to help you guys. Yeah. Reach out to Terrence, because that we as independent producers, content creators, and everything, we need to support each other.
Correct.
And so reach out. That's all you got to do. And just tell them Mike sent you.
And I'll remember that too. I'll say, Mike sent you, then I know you're a good person. So thank you.
Yeah. So I want to thank you once again for coming on tonight. But I did have one question for you. How hard is it to get your stuff on Prime? Because you mentioned that.
At the time it was, well, I was going to say easy, but let me backtrack. It took a little while. There were some little glitches, but I think they worked all of that out. But don't forget to get your content transcribed, because they want to have the syncing of it with the words or whatever. So that's important to get a good
hearing impaired.
Transcribe it. Yeah, you got to get a good service that can transcribe for you, because you'll have to send the video links to them and they can do that for you. But yeah.
Okay. I have to think about that, because I've had a couple. I've been seeing a few people that have been talking about doing that, and I was like,
It's not really, I'll tell you the truth, it's not that hard. It really wasn't that hard to get. It took a little while to get approved for it. I don't know what that was about. It took a couple of days, but other than that, it's great. You can go, you get some analytics in the background. They're not the most robust analytics about who's watching in the data, but you do get to see every day how many people have watched episodes and for how many minutes they've watched it. So
okay,
I've been using that as a gauge. That's the interest.
Yeah, and that watch time engagement is perfect, because it lets you know about where you lost your people's interest.
Correct. Yeah, and it's funny, over the holidays, there's always a spike. Like you see, like you get 2,000 minutes of people watching your show, and then you can tell on a holiday, like a July 4th or something, no one's home. So they're not really going to watch your content. So it's interesting to see, times, the time of the year is very seasonal when people watch shows.
Yeah. Also times of the day for release.
Yeah. I mean, now it's not so bad because people are watching content all the time. But yeah, before this crisis, it was very funny. I would say Friday night, I would get a lot of traffic. For some reason, I would think people are social, and I got a lot of traffic. Sundays, I think people would be home, no traffic. I did, some days it's just like that. So it's kind of funny.
I found out for our show, the best time for me to release it is like 3 a.m. in the morning, because I'm catching the audience overseas that are just waking up.
Correct. Yeah.
And getting their day. They're having their coffee. They're ready to rock and roll. And boom, they want to watch something before they go to work.
Correct. And it's good, also with that transcription with Amazon Prime, if you get a good service. I've only used English translation in Spanish. I think I'm going to go venture out into Chinese and maybe Japanese or something, other languages, just to get your content out there for, get a more worldwide audience. So
yeah, absolutely.
Something else.
I've got listeners in South Africa, Korea. I've got, my listeners are global. So I was looking the other day at some of the analytics, and I'm like, I don't even speak those languages. How are they watching my show? Or
yeah, well, hopefully, a lot of people, know English, so maybe they're looking at it that way. Yeah.
Well, Terrence, once again, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. This has been a blast. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I do hope that some of my listeners reach out to you, or at least go and watch the web series. Yeah. And any of my listeners need to get a hold of me, you can go to my website at anythinggoesproject.com. Just click the Contact Me tab. You can also call into the show at 361-433-5739. Leave me a voicemail. Tell me if you like the show. Tell me if you hate the show. I don't care. Just interact. Let's do this thing. And if you're new to the show, we do have a YouTube channel. And just look up my name, Mike Simons, Anything Goes Project. Either one. And it's going to take you to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, especially if you like the show. And if you do like the show, share it. Hit that like button. It helps the show to be seen. And I also want to encourage you to go over to Terrence's YouTube page. Do the same for them, because the more people that subscribe, the better it's going to be for us, because it gets us into that analytics that gets the show out in front of more people. And so, Terrence, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show tonight. This has been a blast. Do you have any closing words or anything for our audience?
I like to close with thank you, Mike, for having me on the show and this platform. For the audience, we really do have a unique show, unique premise. I'd love for you to watch the show and really engage with us. If you can, we have social media, so reach out if you have any questions about the show and if you have any suggestions for the show, because we're really collaborative. If the audience sees something that we don't notice, hey, please, just let us know, so that way we can incorporate it. And again, if you want to reach out to me via email, halfpastjumptime@gmail.com. It's right to my phone, and I'll be able to help. And if you have any suggestions, like you said, a marketer, anyone who's a writer, whatever, actors, if you want to be in the show, you're in the New York area, please feel free to reach out. I'm open.
All right. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here.